everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, the DRF race of the day for Saturday, April the 22nd. Race number 10 at Oaklawn Park. It's the Grade 2 $1 million Oaklawn Handicap at 1 1/8 miles. Let's take a look at this salty field of older horses. Please click or scan the QR code for race of the day access on mobile with free Formulator Pass performances. Mike, the 7 Charge It, the last time he ran, I think a lot of folks were expecting a coronation based on his 2 prior starts with those Beyer speed figures and those connections. And well, he ran okay, but he didn't run up to par, and now he's got some questions to answer.
Yeah, that's a fair way to put it, Dan. I mean, it wasn't a terrible performance in the Gulfstream Park Mile, but it wasn't a great one. And it's not like you could go back and watch the race back and feel like he had some kind of an excuse in there, Dan. He was just second best with a little bit of a Beyer regression as well. I wonder what the idea was there, cutting him back to the 1-turn mile. I wonder if at that point Pletcher was thinking maybe the early season goal will be the Met Mile and then we'll go from there. And now I wonder if they've sort of changed course. They're going to stretch him back out.
He will receive blinkers for the first time and will get Lasix again in the Oaklawn Handicap. And he does have speed. We throw up the Timeform US pace projector, Charge It, expected to be up close to the pace, but Classic Causeway by no means directly to his inside. By no means is a slow horse. He can get up close. Stiletto Boy is very versatile. He's been on the lead in some races in the past. I know he came off of it in the big cap last time out. So there's a chance they make Charge It run a little bit going into the first turn.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, Charge It certainly is a fast horse, and basically in all of his races, he's wanted to be forward. But that's also the case with Classic Causeway. I mean, I don't really see them conceding the lead in this race. The Stiletto Boy is going to be forward as well. We'll see. I don't necessarily think this is going to be a destructive pace, Dan, but I think there's a chance it gets pretty fast.
And if it's fair to fast, it could help the number 4, Proxy, who you see has the LP designation on his Timeform US chiclet. He has the fastest late pace rating and would benefit, likely, if the pace is swift. The number 1 would also benefit from a quick pace. That's the Millionaire, the Rated R Superstar, who's come back in pretty good form this year, Mike, but you have to wonder, and we seem like we say it every single year about Rated R Superstar, is Father Time finally catching up with him? Beaten by Last Samurai in his last couple of starts.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily something you have to be too concerned with, that he's been defeated by Last Samurai in his last. I think what you have to be concerned with in those races, Dan, is he didn't really ever make his presence felt in either of those 2 races. And that's a real problem. I mean, this is a horse who, for the most part, is very consistent. He'll sit back, he'll make one run, and whether he gets there or not, he's usually coming at the end of those races. That really hasn't been the case in the last 2. I don't, want to sit here and say he's tailing off, but he needs to rebound in a big way here. And obviously a fast pace would really, really help his chances.
He's a 10-year-old, and the fans in Hot Springs are certainly going to be rooting for Rated R Superstar, horse that's been so good there for such a long time. The 2 is Last Samurai, one of the now horses in the handicap division for Mr. Lucas. He won the Razorback. He won the Essex. Let's watch the latter race, the Essex. Classic Causeway on the lead. Last Samurai able to confront him from the outside, and it's this versatility that helps Last Samurai in his races. He can come from out of it. He can stay close to the pace if it's a little bit slower, and he's superior to Classic Causeway in the stretch here.
Yeah, that's a very key point that you just made there, Dan. His versatility really gives his rider options in these races. He came from a little bit further back, 2 starts back in the Razorback. I thought he looked really good winning that race. They had to keep him a little closer last time. That pace was not fast. He was on the outside, but he never let Classic Causeway get too far away, drove him down at the end. Another good performance. He's in great form right now.
The number 3 is Stiletto Boy, who utilized his speed to go gate to wire in the 2022 Californian at this distance. And then last time out in the big cap, sat just a bit off a very fast pace for that 1.25 miles. Let's watch the stretch run of Stiletto Boy's big cap victory at 13-1. He's on the outside. You're going to see following him in the blue, Proxy is going to make a strong late run. It's going to be a blanket finish. Stiletto Boy just gets up.
Yeah, he's going to get the job done here. I really like the ride that Sormo gave him here, Dan, because Stiletto Boy's a horse who has plenty of early speed, and he was forward first time through the stretch in this race. But he was content to let that pace go. He sat in behind. I thought all in all the trip was a really good one. and he took advantage of it to get the job done there. I thought he ran well in that race. I think he's probably going to run well again because he's just that kind of a horse, and he can get the right trip in this race. I just want to wait and see what kind of price he is, Dan. 8-1 on the morning line seems very fair to me.
A lot of folks forget the Stiletto Boy basically began his career in the Midwest and raced at Oaklawn Park and was a maiden winner here, so he has experience over the surface. Proxy is the number 4. We saw him trying so hard at the end of the big cap, and he did get a fast pace to run into, but I wonder if those harder, more speed-friendly tracks out in Southern California kind of work against Proxy a little bit. He won the Clark 3 starts back, when able to adapt to the pace and get up close, and I think this time around he's going to settle in mid-pack and come with a good run. He's always been a solid horse, and he's our 4th millionaire from our first 4 entrants.
Yeah, I thought the big cap last time, I mean, I know that the fractions were solid for sure, but when you go back and sort of watch that race from start to finish, there's really nobody closing from far back in there besides Proxy. Nobody else did anything. The horses that were first, third, and fourth in that race were all right up close to the pace the entire way. Proxy came widest. He made up a lot of ground through the stretch. I actually felt like he ran pretty well there, even though the big cap, overall is not my favorite race in the world this year. His race prior to that, the Pegasus World Cup, he had no chance in there. You could not be closing in that race, and he still almost got 4th. He was just behind the favorite in this race, Last Samurai, when that race came to the wire. And then you go back to that race 3 back there on the Clark. I thought he ran pretty well that day, having to keep close to West Willpower, another horse who was in great form, and he managed to outfinish that horse. I think Proxy might be a little dirtied up on the way into this.
And 1 1/8 seems just fine for him. Again, he should be running at the end of this race. The 5 Senor Buscador has always shown talent in his career. He's 5 years old. Unfortunately, we've only seen him 9 times on the track, but he was a graded stakes winner going a 1-turn mile last year. And they found a great spot for his seasonal debut at Sunland Park at 1 1/16. He's 1-10 in this race, and he runs like it.
Yeah, he wins this race easily. It was a great spot. I like the placing, though, just to give them sort of a race off the layoff here, Dan, to see where they're at. I think they had to be pretty pleased with this victory. And now they're going to stretch him out and take on, some much tougher horses. This horse has talent, though. I think he still has something to prove going 9 furlongs, especially against good horses. But this horse is pretty good. He's still really lightly raced, too.
I think that's the key, though. Can he be as effective going 1 1/8 as he's been going a mile in his career? The price will be right if you want to find out. Classic Causeway, multiple graded stakes winner on the dirt, grade 1 stakes winner on the turf. We saw him run a fine second in his seasonal debut to Last Samurai last time out. Last Samurai was just better and had more recency going into the race. He should be forwardly placed, and he's another millionaire.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they're just going to come out of there running, right? I don't, this pace should be a little bit faster. That pace wasn't that fast last time, and he just really couldn't hold on. But it was certainly a good performance back on dirt for the first time in a while. I know he's a grade 1 winner on turf, Dan. I still kind of feel like he's a little bit better on this surface, but this is a really tough spot for him, I think.
Todd Pledger sends out your morning line favorite. That's the number 7, Charge It, who was second in the Florida Derby and only his 3rd lifetime start. It was really kind of a rush job to make the Kentucky Derby. They did make it. He did not have a good trip in the Derby, and he ended up finishing 17th. Well, he came back and he aired in the grade 3 Dwyer, popping a 1:11 Beyer speed figure. Unfortunately, it was just a burden for Todd to get this horse completely sound the rest of the year, and he missed the rest of the year. He came back in an allowance race at Gulfstream, Mike. He looked really, really good winning that day. And then the grade 2 Gulfstream Park Mile, the race we talked about in the Open. He's up close to the pace in here. And I know Endorsed is in razor sharp form right now, but I still find it hard to shake the idea that this is the same Endorsed that once lost 22 races in a row.
Yeah, I agree. And it's just, like I said, we talked about in the Open a little bit, then there's just really no way to go back and watch this and think Charge It had some kind of big excuse. The pace was solid, and he, was sort of after it right from the start, but Endorsed was sitting right outside of him the entire way. It's not like Endorsed came from way out of it and outfinished him. They just sort of sat together tracking that pace. Endorsed was better. That was a disappointing performance. Obviously, Charge It could really rebound here. I do not mind them stretching him out to a longer distance. What do you make of the blinkers on? I kind of hate the idea that Pletcher goes right to the equipment change.
I usually don't like it when these top horses get a change off of a disappointing performance. This is a horse, though, that's been a little bit green and drifty in his career, and I wonder if Todd's just trying to get this horse to focus a little bit more on the task at hand. I was trying to watch a workout with blinkers. I saw the one on March 31st on XBTV without, so keep an eye out. Maybe Mike Welsh will have some information this weekend on the Clocker Report. Curious to see how Charge It does with the Rogues badge. Before we get to our top selections, please click the subscribe button for the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for the latest DRF videos. Top pick time for the Oaklawn Handicap. You've got, what, 5 millionaires in this race, not counting your morning line favorite. Mike, you're going with Proxy. He has tremendous stamina. He should be running on at the end of this race. He has been a consistent horse from day one.
Yeah, I just think he might be the right horse in this race. That I can't say I'm a huge Proxy fan overall, but I do think he's a little dirtied up. I think this race could set up very well for his running style. And listen, as much as I want Charge It to be a really good horse, and I hope he runs well in here, I don't really want to bet him off that last performance.
Especially at the price. I mean, he's 8-5 on the morning line. You could certainly go lower if folks want to jump on that big buyer speed figure from 3 starts back. That being said, I think he's the most brilliant horse in the race, and I think that Luis Saez is going to have him just off the hip of Classic Causeway early, ready to pounce. We'll find out if all the hype was for naught. I think this is an opportunity for Charge It, although unfortunately not at a great price. Mike's going Proxy. I'm going Charge It. It's the Oaklawn Handicap, the Saturday DRF race of the day, and it's a good one. Good luck.